Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Nintendo Fuse game chat. Today, we're talking all about Cat Quest 3 for the Nintendo Switch. Cat Quest 3 came out on August 8th, 2024. It was developed by the Gentle Bros, who also did the first two games, and published by Kepler Interactive. And full disclosure, Kepler Interactive provided some review codes for the game for us to review, so thank you very much. And I'm joined by Steve and Greg, and we're going to talk all about this game. So let's just jump right in. Uh, Greg, what are your experiences with this game? What's your first impressions, and what are your thoughts?
First off, initially, I actually purchased my copy of the game, so I did have to preface that initially because we only gotten two codes, but I did download the demo, and then after playing through the demo, I absolutely got very much in love with the game and the style game that it provided. So then I immediately had pretty much pre-ordered it that day. So upon when I first was able to play it just the last few days here and played it through the completion, I absolutely still continued to enjoy my entire time with the game. I really liked the um, action-packed combat system, along with like the different boating mechanics where you can tackle on enemies in the sea as well. So it's a very action-based adventure game where you can go through different dungeons, hunting down treasures, defeating enemies, all in like a real-time like mechanic, and you can use a variety of different weapons. You can use like magic spells. You can equip different types of armor, like a either like a armor like for your body, and then like another like a hat or a helmet type as well that increases different stats. Like you can either do like an armor based thing or magic assistance one based, and all these different other stat modifiers. So like you can really fully customize your appearance along with the types of stats that you're looking to improve for the style of game that you're looking to play. So if you really like your magic spells the most, you can maximize your potential there, and then you can even upgrade all the different spells along with all the weapons and equipment that you find throughout the game as well, with the coins and everything that you get from defeated enemies, along with just coins that are just laying on the ground. So um, I absolutely enjoyed going through the different dungeons because it's very much like Legend of Zelda esque. There's a few very simple like puzzles where just like finding the switch or just defeating the enemies. It's very simple, simplistic stuff, but it's very fun and very intuitive the way they designed it, and even appreciated like how they kind of made the, even though dungeons were smaller in size, there was a nice complete like circle loop where you were able to easily get back to the beginning of the dungeon and easily get right back out and exploring back into the world. So that was also really cool there and really a nice touch. I did really also appreciate the very open world. You can kind of go sailing anywhere throughout the world. Like it wasn't requiring you to go to any specific destinations. You can easily just go to any island that you wanted to, and if you felt compelled, you could pretty much take down some of the hardest enemies at the game with a little bit of patience and good skillful dodging. So I certainly had my fair share of tackling on that, and I died quite a number of times, and even a few times it led to some unfortunate game crashes. But I don't know what really else that could really cause that outside of just the excessive death counts on a few of the different areas that I was in. But um, yeah, I really enjoyed my time with the game and nearly got every single treasure that you can find in the game, and really enjoyed fighting all the different bosses and everything that was part of the game. So I don't know what you thought, Steve.
Yeah, I okay. So I have preface all this is that I overall I've enjoyed this game, but there's some quirks to it. So I'd say yeah, I've had fun with it. What you're talking about, I love the ability to kind of play the game as you want to play the game, as you want to focus more on defense, or you want to focus more on melee, you want to focus more on magic, you want to focus more on shooting, and or how what costumes and stuff at you add to it. All those different things is really fun, and I think it adds to the game. And once I got into that, I started enjoying the game a lot more as well. And it was kind of cool. I was like, oh, I need to upgrade this certain aspect because I really like fighting this way or whatever. And so that was really fun. I think the graphics are great. I think it's fun to it's a fun game to see and play as well. Yeah, it's cute. I think it's great that the story is not important because I think that's where it's kind of lacking. I don't care much for the story at all. I'm flying through all the dialogue because I really don't care, but that's okay because it doesn't really matter if you know what's going on. You're just gonna beat the game, and I'm taking over some pirates. Yeah, that's the basic idea of the game, and so I got the gist of the premise of the game. That's good enough. I'm not in this for the story. Um, I think some of the quirks that are there are when you start into this, and granted, I'm going to preface all this part as well with I don't think I've played Cat Quest 1. I think I have it. I may have played like a little bit of it, but it was so long ago that I've forgotten. And I'd not played Cat Quest 2, I don't think. And so I know they're building on each other. And so I think if I would have had the history of the other games, this may have not been an issue. But stepping into this game basically is my first one that I'm remembering. I think it was a little tough to know what to do, where to go, what I was supposed to be about, because there's so many objectives and there's so many side quests that I think you can get distracted. And I think you're like, okay, where do I actually have to go? And I eventually figured out those little arrows are helpful and they point to where you're supposed to go for the next main objective, except for the way the angle of the camera is. Sometimes you can't tell exactly where those arrows are pointing, and sometimes they're pointing pretty much straight up and you don't see an arrow because the way the camera is angled, kind of like almost halfway 3.5D kind of issue. Little quirk, not going to ding it a whole lot for that. But it's just like, that's interesting. I would have preferred to have a little bit of control with maybe the right stick to be able to actually control the camera just a little bit. If there is control of the camera, please let me know because I haven't figured it out. But I think it's stuck into one view. And then I also noticed a weird thing, like when you go to the map, you can put an X in a certain spot you want to remember, but it didn't stay there for me. I don't know why. I went out of the map and went back into the map later and it was gone. So I don't know if that's a bug or what, but little quirks like that kind of like knock it down from being like an amazing, excellent, like 10 out of 10 kind of game. But overall, it was fun and I'm enjoying it. I mean, I'm still playing it. I played probably, I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through. And I know you guys beat it all the way, but I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through. I played it in one setting so far, and really it's suspended right now because I'm intending to go back and eventually finish it pretty soon. But yeah, it's fun, but it's got some quirks.
Yeah, so I played both the original two Cat Quest games. So when this was announced, I was instantly ready for it, and did pick up the physical copy as well. And I sat down with this game, and while there were breaks in between, by the end of the day, I'd beaten the game. I just gone through in a day playing this game, and I don't feel I played it for an extended period of time. I probably played it maybe 6 hours or so. Um, I don't know. It hasn't Switch hasn't told me, but you know, even some of that, I had to pause to take care of my kid and stuff, or you know, phone call or whatever. And I think maybe playing the other games did help a little bit, and some RNG luck with gear can help as well, and the way you decide to tackle things. But I had a blast. Like the entire time I had a smile on my face, and I was actually sad when it was over because I'm like, wait, it's over already? Like
Mm.
I want to keep going, you know, like I want more. Because while it is not a huge world, it's densely packed. There's a lot of stuff, and I appreciate being able to open up the map and it's showing you flat out, here's where side quests are, here's where you need to go. Like this one where you have to deliver mail to a bunch of different recipients, and it shows you where each one is, which was so nice. But then there are other hidden things like for legendary fish you got to find, or five different coins that will, you know, run away from you and lead to a special treasure. They're not on the map. You have to explore, you have to find those. And I love that it gives you that sense of exploration. But that's all side stuff. None of that is mandatory, none of that is needed. Uh, you know, the dungeons, like Greg alluded to, they're short, but they're great, and some of them are funny. Like the one character tasks you to go to a dungeon and he traps you and sends you out on the other side. And at first I was like, how do I get through? How do I get back? And then I realized I could swim. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't need to worry. I could just swim. And it almost made like the whole world not feel like isolated islands, but really just one big connected world. And then I started like pushing myself. Like I'm gonna go to a place that I probably shouldn't go to now and just see if I could do it. And I did it. And I was like, well, now I got even better gear. So now all the other stuff becomes easier, and it just, you know, snowballed from there. And my main time dying was I was playing around, and suddenly I saw a giant rubber ducky in the water, and I said I need to just go attack that. And I didn't realize it was going to be a level 80 boss, and of course it blew me away. And I was like, that duck of doom just got me, like that was great. And eventually, as I got stronger and I upgraded my ship, I was able to go back and beat that boss, and it was so satisfying. And I love that you can upgrade the ship, and you can upgrade they talk about magic and stuff. The ship has different shots and different upgrades. You can choose if you want up to 4 special shots and a few upgrades, or just like one special shot and all upgrades, or no special shots and just all upgrade the hull, upgrade the cannon. You really can customize the game as you want. And the same with weapons. There's a bunch of different melee weapons, there's different magic weapons, there's different ranged weapons, and you could swap between ranged and melee. Really, really easy. Just a lot of fun. And there's artifacts you could equip that do different things. And what I liked is that each piece of armor, in addition to stats, always has like a bonus thing, like 5% more damage. Like by the end of the game, I was doing like 1,000 to 2,000 damage per hit because I had a piece of gear that I did more damage based on the amount of money I had, and I had over 500,000 gold on me. So I'm just like decimating everything. And I'm like, well, the stats may not be as good as some other ones, but it doesn't matter. That bonus made it worthwhile. And then I'm like, well, I could pay money to upgrade it, but do I want to pay money to upgrade it? So it was kind of fun that it gives you these options to mess around and play with. And I didn't even we talked a little bit before recording about magic. Like I forgot to use like magic for a while, and I didn't even get a heal spell until much later in the game. And I'm like, oh, this would have been handy like early on. But yeah, so there's a lot to it. So Greg, let's go back to you. What would you say is like your top few favorite things, and any negative? Because I know Steve gave some nitpicks. Do you have any nitpicks, and what are your things that stood out to you as a first time Cat Quest player?
Yeah, unfortunately forgot to preface that the Cat Quest 3 was my first entry into the series, and I actually did go back and purchase the first 2 games to judge at a later date. But in terms of 3, I do agree with Steve's criticism of the camera. There's a few spots where like you can find like hidden chests, and just being able to just rotate the camera, even if it's just like a slight angle, you can get a better view of certain things. It can really make the world of difference just to be able to get a better perspective on certain hidden locations, on some of the hidden things there. And I did experience the thing with the map because I was marking a number of the areas that you eventually find like a item that allows you to interact with like the certain region, and I was marking those on the map, and then I went to look at my map to find out where I was marking them, and then all the markers were gone. So it was just like, well, what's the point of marking the map if it doesn't even save on the map? So that's kind of more of a critical nitpick, I would think, because like if imagine playing like Breath of the Wild and you're trying to mark where you want to go, and then like as soon as you either power off the game or just I don't know if it's after a certain time or something like that, or put into sleep mode, and then you turn it back on, and then you don't know where you're like where did I put the marker? Like you don't know, so it's like it's gone. So that's kind of more of a critical thing, I would think, is any game that has a map you would need in your giving the player the ability to mark it. It really shouldn't be changing it or removing it without like you telling it to be removed.
Mm, yeah.
So I unfortunately got to do a lot of backtracking, just wandering around trying to find the locations that I had previously marked, and it created a lot of extra turnaround and backtracking just to try to previously discover those locations. So at least that's more of a critical part there. And even with my extensive dying and the game crashes I experienced, like you do have to go through all the dialogue. So there are other games and other genres where it at least doesn't repeat all the boss dialogue. So then you're stuck either like scrolling through all the dialogue again, and it'd be nice to have like an option to like fast skip through dialogue, or if the dialogue didn't show up a secondary time, just because like, well, I've already read it because I died here more than once even, and then just having to click through it multiple times is kind of also a nitpick as well too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to say, yeah, you can fast forward through it, but it'd be really nice to just skip it.
yeah, so either like where it doesn't even show, or just flat out just like, okay, just start the boss pattern and let's get going here,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So at least I noticed that a lot with the Necromancer boss, because that was at least the highest violator of having lots of dialogue right before the actual boss fight.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can prefer that things be like voice acted and stuff. I know it's a smaller budget games, but obviously that's nothing, not the end of the world. Text is still sufficient, but it also helps add more personality, and especially with like the humor into it. I did think that was a good pro too, with all the different cat puns and the rat puns as well too, like pirate and everything else too. So that was definitely a big pro on my end. I do like the some of the corny stuff that they kind of implemented throughout the different adventure there. And then even like you're getting like milk mugs and stuff when you do the bounties. That was also really cool too. So like I do like all the different like cat references and puns and stuff. That was definitely a huge another huge side pro outside of like the obvious gameplay pros like mechanics. But yeah, at least those are some of the main nitpicks that I came up with the top of my head at least.
Yeah,
Like
I feel like if
the
you're not a fan of puns, this game is going to annoy you. Um, but yeah, I think simple things like, I mean, if you're in a dungeon, sometimes it's hard to get away from some enemies. But if you're in the overworld, like there's several times where I stumbled upon specific enemies, usually on the water, that I was not ready for yet, and they were about ready to kill me. But the ability to run away quickly and your fast movement, if you hold down the B button, you can move so quick around this map. And so I think that's a kind of a positive thing as well. Like, even though having to search and go find those places that weren't marked on the map, like Greg and I were talking about, it didn't take forever to go searching because you can just hold down the B button and fly across this map in your ship. So that's really nice as well. Like, there's no fast travel, but it's kind of, you don't need fast travel when you can like go supersonic in this boat. Yeah, those kind of things were nice as well. I think those were good quality of life kind of additions. There's some things that, yeah, I talked about already that would have been even better, but even being able to escape quickly if you need to, from some enemies is nice. Other enemies though, like those teleporting ones, those are annoying. Um, those are hard to get away from because they keep teleporting where I'm trying to go. But a lot of them you can just, yeah, run away if you're not ready for that battle. Because there will be times where you'll stumble into somewhere where you're not ready for. That happens many times to me, and that's fun if you want to take that challenge. But if you realize you're not ready for it and you need to get out of there, usually you can get out pretty quick.
Yeah, even along that note, is I did appreciate you could actually, if you were skilled enough, you could actually like kind of like heal mid battle. So like
Hmm.
if you were taking on like the Duck of Doom and your boat gets destroyed, if you like make it back to land and go by one of the docks, you can respawn the boat, and then if you're within a certain radius of the boat, it like recharges and fixes the boat, and then so then I was kind of maneuvering around the boats. Then like it was I wouldn't get hurt from like the duck
Mm-hmm.
as it was like approaching me, and then like the boat was able to get back to fully charged, and then I was back in attacking it again. So it was like it. I did appreciate that kind of challenge to like, oh, now I get to try to stay alive, or maybe after I fixed it, maybe I can realize I can run. So like it did provide like those kind of options. Like if am I really dealing enough damage here where I think I have a legit shot of winning, or am I really way and over my head and just need to get away and not just take the death or whatever too. So I thought that was a pretty good, fun pro and challenge part of it as well. Along with I think even like the duck not even outright like attacking you off base, it just kind of floats to the water, and then if you shoot at it, then it will full on like attack you. But
Mhm.
Um, there was even a few other boats and stuff that didn't actually like charge or attack you unless you actually like initiated combat against them. So, like that part was kind of appreciated. So then you don't have like these high level things just immediately just chasing you down and killing you instantly. Instead of like if you're trying to take on the challenge, then sure, but like you don't have to if you don't even want to try to tempt fate there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I like that it lets you have that freedom. It doesn't just bum rush you. It makes you like exactly what happened to me. It was like, oh, this is cool. I'm just gonna go attack this, and I was level 80 super boss. Oh my
Yeah.
god, like that. I laughed. Like I died, but I didn't. I wasn't mad that I died. I laughed at it. It was like that. They got me. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
I like that there's also like the dungeons themselves. There's a lot of varying degrees. Like the Necromancer dungeon is very different than the Gold Tower, and very different than the Infinity Tower, which is very different than a certain person's castle that I won't spoil. Um, that yeah, I like that. I like that each of the bosses is also very unique, and there's a lot of things that interconnect within the side quests. There's also other bonus content like the Infinity Tower. When you beat it, you could actually go back into it, and it's an infinite dungeon pretty much, and you could just see how far you can go every time, and you get different random rewards. So it's a good way to farm gear and upgrade your gear and stuff like that, and you get a lot of experience while doing it. But it's completely optional. They don't force you to do it, and I love that. It's just a nice little grinding spot.
Mm-hmm.
So just so everyone knows right
I got
now,
a
because
quick
the game,
question for you
yeah,
before you move
yeah.
on, Barry. Did either of you guys play the two-player version? Because I did not.
No, no, I did not.
It
There's a
does have
co-op.
it's a co-op version, and yeah, I
Yep.
was interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was a co-op version. I initially, when I reached those um, save points, I almost thought it was like a way to like level up like XP because I was like, it kind of looks like a since it was shown in X, I was like, oh, I
Mm.
do I get like extra experience points for clicking the X button, and then like nothing was happening, and then eventually I held it down, and then like, oh, connect a second controller. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it is a co-op game, and we all played solo, so it's completely beatable solo. But it is, to note that it is a co-op game for sure. So just to say, the game just came out. It is 19.99. It's not on sale or anything. Greg, 19, you bought it, so you can actually speak as a consumer. 19.99. Would you recommend it at full price? Would you recommend waiting for a sale? Would you not recommend it at all? What would you do?
I would fully recommend it, especially if you're fans of live action type combat, like action adventure with like light RPG element type games. Normally, like the live action stuff is not usually my cup of tea, but I felt like the a lot of the enemies have like like the normal predictable type style patterns and a lot of different ways to play with like the different gear and stuff. Like at least in this particular game versus other ones that I've played, it made this one a lot more manageable and make definitely gives me a strong feeling for a strong recommendation for purchase. And obviously, any sort of sale price definitely is recommended as well. Or I think there's even the bundle where you can get all three and see the full story as well too. That would be fully recommend. I recommend at this point as well too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What about you,
Although
Steve?
as of right now, August 13th, as we're recording this, you got 8 days, and buy all three games separately is the better thing because you actually save some money over the trilogy. But yeah, I think I'd recommend it. Yeah, knowing that there's a couple like little things, I don't think any of those things that we've talked about are enough reason to not recommend this game. I think, yeah, if you're into this style of a game, I think it's gonna be fun. Um, and that's pretty much all I gotta say. I mean, just know there's a couple quirks here and there, but I still recommend it.
Yeah, there's nothing you can't
Yeah.
push through. That's yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll echo that as well. I think it's absolutely worth it at $20. It's a lot of fun, and it's also family friendly too. So it's definitely something I look forward to, like as my son gets older, to go back to and play with him and help him out, and just it's a very colorful, fun world, and they've crafted something really special with the trilogy, and I definitely think it's well worth it. So again, Cat Quest 3 is available now on the Switch. Again, the Gentle Bros are the developers, and Kepler Interactive published and did provide 2 codes for us. So thank you again. For all other game chats like this, as well as our bi-monthly podcast, our game chats, interviews, everything under the sun, please go to NintendoFuse.com for more stuff like this. Thank you so much, Greg and Steve, for joining me tonight. And everybody, have yourself a great day.